So today we're going to take the opportunity to see all the things we can see within Cisco Webex Control Hub with the ProPack installed. So from an analytics perspective, what can we see? Can we expect to see as far as visibility into our Cisco collaboration environment? So let's just jump right into it. In the left-hand side, if you click on Analytics, it's going to take us over to the Analytics page, and we can see all the different areas that we can focus on, that being meetings, messaging, calling, care, devices, and video mesh. Now, for the purposes of this video, we won't be getting into video mesh or the care components, so we'll just be focusing on meetings, messaging, calling, and devices, which are all pretty straightforward and should take up the bulk of our time here. So as this messaging dashboard populates with information. This is taking a look at our Webex Teams environment, and you can see the various different panels giving us information, total registered users, total messages sent within our virtual spaces there, active spaces over the last day. One thing to note about all of these panels is if you don't know what the information is or you're not precisely sure what information is being displayed to you, just click on this little information button at the bottom right. Each panel has it. You do that, it flips around, and it gives you a pretty detailed description of what is being communicated to you, or what they're trying to communicate to you, right? So another interesting note about these dashboards, and this applies to pretty much all of them, you can change the view of them from daily, weekly, and to monthly to get the exact view and scope that you want. And in addition to that, say we wanted to drill down into the messages sent, right? And we didn't want to see all of these, but we wanted to see just a subset. So we could click on this actual panel, click this lasso here, and maybe we only wanted to see over these 3 days. Click Apply. This actually applies a filter that cascades across all the panels within this page to give us a little more granular detail as to what we're looking at. So that's pretty straightforward from a messaging perspective. If we look at calling, as this page loads, we'll see we have a couple of other little options here. So we've got engagement, which is going to show us usage of our calling devices, our cloud call endpoints, and then we've also got quality. So if we just take a look down here at what we're looking at, we've got number of calls, number of call minutes. All of this is exportable into a PDF, an image, if you want to export just the picture graph itself and stick that into a PowerPoint presentation, or the actual raw data in a CSV format as well. Then we've got call details of the individual callers below all that. Of course, that's all exportable into a CSV as well. If we click on quality, get a little more granular detail. And in this environment, don't worry about all the names and usernames and phone numbers and things like that you see. It's a demo environment. All this traffic is being generated on the back end with bots and simulated meetings. So none of this is real live data, so we don't have to worry about any of that. But in addition, we've also, what you hopefully will not see in your environment is all these poor quality audio calls. So we've got some WAN generators that are generating some loss, latency, and jitter because we wanted to simulate what you would see in an environment where you've got spotty or poor quality calls. You can adjust the thresholds of what you're going to be able to see in this environment by using these sliders here. So minimum packet loss, minimum latency, minimum jitter, and that will affect what you actually pops up into this panel below. If we move on to devices, we've got a couple of different types of devices that we've got in our environment. They're desktop endpoints, the DX70s and DX80s. Again, similar information. We can click on this panel. Say we just wanted a subset. Click on the lasso. There we go. If we move down here, We can see device utilization. So this is especially useful if we've got room-based endpoints. So maybe we have rooms that are constantly being booked, are overbooked, and they're just, they're constantly being used. And we've got other rooms that are sitting there idle that nobody's using. Well, we'll be able to see that within this panel, right? What rooms and what endpoints and assets are actually being used, and then we can dive into those rooms and say why. Is it because they're in an out-of-the-way location? Are they at a branch site where there's just not heavy users in that area? Given that information, we can then reallocate those assets within the organization to kind of better that user experience and that utilization for those. So a few statistics here about these endpoints as well. We can see the IP addresses of those endpoints, their current status. These got a couple that are connected, a couple that are disconnected. So details like that can be useful as well. Lastly, if we touch on meetings, we'll let this load here, but we've got, again, meeting usage, number of meeting minutes, participant details of the individual Webex meetings. So if we click on the quality tab, we can see things like average join time, actual join time by different locations, parts of the country, parts of the world, VoIP quality by location, VoIP quality overall. We can drill down into any of these things and take a look at, hey, what is that actual problem that we're seeing, and who's having those VoIP quality issues, right? So we see that these 3 users may be potentially having some VoIP quality issues. So it can help us pinpoint, gives us the visibility to go in and pinpoint, be a little more proactive for our users. If we jump over to audio, now in this environment, we are only using voice over IP. So that's all you're going to see here in this graph. But in the real world, you may be having users join via PSTN. Maybe it's PSTN callback from Webex. And so those kind of statistics are useful as well. So if you have users that are consistently or occasionally complaining of or having issues with voice quality in their Webex meeting, maybe it's because they're dialing in from a coffee shop where there's low bandwidth or things like that. So VoIP may not be ideal. Maybe they should have Webex call them back via the PSTN on their mobile device. So those are options to help you, again, be more proactive in creating a better user experience for your users. Last thing we'll touch on, if we click over to classic mode, this is the old way that kind of the old menus from the Webex meetings experience. If we click on meeting usage, it kind of gets us into more of the CDR kind of call detail records-ish kind of things. So let's just look for meetings from today, see what we can pull up. That report generates. So we want a meeting from today with a number of users. So let's pick this one, Rome Ritters. If we click on his room, he's got 8 users in there. It's pretty generic, pretty bland information, but it's basic information about each participant that was in this meeting, right? This was a 45-minute meeting. But if we want even more, prettier, more useful statistics and information, we can just grab one of these email addresses from this report, pop back over to Control Hub, go to the Troubleshooting tab, and let's change this to today. And we'll find that Rome Ritters meeting that they were just on 45 minutes long. That is the meeting. So these are the statistics for this particular meeting that these people were in. These 8 individuals, a 45-minute meeting via Webex. We have this little ladder graph here of all the participants and what their experience was like. So we've got the start date of the meeting, we've got the start times, the end times, the duration of the meeting, how many participants were in it, all the participants and their details, right? What kind of endpoint were they using? When did they join? How long they were in? What their join time was like? Was it good? In this case, all of our join times were good for all of our users. Audio quality seemed to be good for most of our users, although there were some issues here that we see along the line. Who was sharing and when? Who was the host of the meeting? That was Rome Ritter. And then more details here down at the bottom. If we click on the video tab, we can see the video statistics for that particular meeting as well. So we can see that Rome Ritter, who was the host of the meeting, at certain points he had some fair quality, so a little lower than great quality, and we hover over that and we can actually see what the reason was for those quality issues, right? So again, just giving you more information so you can be a little more proactive with helping your users have a great WebEx environment, WebEx experience, right? So that was a quick rundown of all the things that you can see within Control Hub with the ProPack installed. If you've got any questions or would like to see any of this in further depth, feel free to reach out to me. I'm on Webex Teams. You can find me at kprater@covaris.com.